Hi everyone, this is Matt from tracymatt.co.uk, and here I am with another white box product. And if you've seen many of our videos, you know that typically means just one thing, and indeed here we are with the new HTC One M9. So I'm going to do a quick little video for you showing you the device, and then we'll go away, we'll do our full review and we'll be back. So just going to pop that to one side for a second, and I will mention that being a review unit and a white box product, this is obviously not retail, so what we see in the box here is a standard wall charger, what we've seen with HTC devices numerous times, with a USB socket on the back, and then we have a USB sync charge cable. Again, pretty straightforward and pretty standard, so don't take too much notice of what we have in here in the box because it's not retail. Typically with an HTC device we'd at least have a wired headset as well that will come with it, so I'll follow up when we actually get a full retail unit. So here we are with the M9. So we're going to start at the front. Well, start with the device itself, I guess, and you know it's immediately obvious that this is from the M range of HTC One devices, with a lot of design cues and similarities to certainly the M8 and indeed the M7. So starting at the top, we have a forward-facing 4 megapixel ultrapixel camera. This is basically the same camera and sensor arrangement that we had on the M7 and the M8 that was on the rear, and this has now been moved, the ultrapixel camera has been moved to the front. The ultrapixel camera being that it lets in more light, a lot more sensitive light, and it's a wider angle, is actually ideal for taking your selfies, so that has been moved to the front. So HTC keeping their ultrapixel technology camera, but moving it to the front of the device. Next to that you have the ambient light and proximity sensors, and then one of the boom sound speakers at the top and the other one at the bottom. Again, HTC sticking with the boom sound forward facing speakers, which is very good because those speakers are excellent, and particularly when you're watching videos and you have the device in the landscape arrangement, you do have the stereo effect of those speakers. The display itself is full HD, 1080x1920, and is 5-inch. It's covered with Corning Gorilla Glass 4 for the protection, capacitive touchscreen obviously, and it's a Super LCD 3, so it's a lot brighter and a lot more efficient in terms of power than other Super LCD devices. Taking a look around the outside, on this side we have a cover for, one side is the memory card and the other side is the SD. I think that's the memory card and that's the SD by the looks of it. So it's so that's the memory card and the SIM card, sorry, and the SIM card is nano SIM as well. So there's really nothing to see other than that on this side. On the bottom we have the straightforward USB or micro USB sync charge connector, which does support MHL, and then we have the headphone socket on the bottom too, which is 4-pole, so you can use wired headsets or indeed any standard headphones with a 3.5mm jack. On the side, what you'll notice actually is, and I'll just switch to the top for a moment, is there is no power button on the top. So previous models of the HTC One range, so the M7 and the M8, which I'll just pop in for a second, had the power buttons on the top, so the M8 there and the M7 there, and HTC have moved that around to the side now. So we have the power button on the side along with the up and down volume control, again moved to this side, which is fine. On the top we still have that sensor area, that bar area at the top. On the back, and sort of a more of a significant change perhaps, is in the camera department on the rear. So HTC, well, not quite dropping, but almost dropping that ultrapixel camera and sensor arrangement. As I say, that's now on the front for the selfies, but they've moved to a 20 megapixel sensor on the rear, and a dual tone LED flash on the back as well. And as you can see, the whole of the brushed metal finish is continued with the M9, as indeed it was with the as you can see, the M8 there. So a lot of similarities there indeed in terms of the little breakpoints in the aluminium casing and the points in the top there, as you can see. So a lot of similarities in fact with that. Still full aluminium design. There are two-tone aluminium, so you have this sort of gold aluminium on the back and the sides, and then on the forward and the front you have a silver finish, aluminium, sort of like an anodized aluminium finish, with a polished brush finish on the back. So let me just power up, and while the device comes to life, let's just run down the rest of the specifications. So in terms of size, we're 144.6mm tall, 69.7mm wide, and 9.61mm thick. It seems a little thicker than other models, which I will again just pop in. As you can see there, we've got a little bit more, perhaps a little bit more on the thickness, slightly chunkier, but nothing really to write home about. And obviously the tapered edges just do make it seem quite slim and thin anyway. In terms of weight, 157 grams. Feels a little weighty, I have to be honest, but again I think that's down to really the metal finish. It just makes it want to feel a little heavier perhaps than the actual weight would suggest. Display, we've already mentioned it being 5-inch Full HD. We have Android 5.0 Lollipop with the new HTC Sense user interface. In terms of processing and processor and performance, we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 810 octa-core CPU in here. So we have 4 cores running at 2 GHz and a further 4 cores running at 1.5 GHz. The idea here being that for low performance or applications that don't need much CPU, we can run on any number of the slightly slower CPU cores, and then when you need a much more intensive graphics or CPU performance, then you can use the 4 2 GHz cores, and they are 64-bit. Total storage, 32 gig of built-in available storage, which is again slightly different to last, the M8, where there were 16 and 32 gig models. There are only 32 gig models of the M9. Onboard RAM is 3 gig, again up from 2 gig from previous models, and the micro SD supports up to 128 gig SDHC memory cards. Network, as you would imagine, is 3G, 4G, 4G LTE, and obviously the 2G stuff. The nano SIM is on one side. Sensor wise, we have ambient light, proximity, accelerometer, compass, gyro, magnetometer, and so on. We have an internal GPS which supports GLONASS, Bluetooth 4.1 with aptX, Wi-Fi 802.11bg, ABG, N, and AC standard at 2.4 and 5 GHz frequencies. We also have the HTC Connect for wireless streaming, DLNA support, MFC, CIR, micro USB that's on the bottom is a USB 2.0, and supports HDMI over MHL 3.0 standard. HTC Boom Sound with Dolby Audio with those forward-facing speakers, which are indeed excellent. 20 megapixel camera on the back, actually has sapphire glass that covers it, which is also a good thing. We'll just mention that one of the slight drawbacks from previous M8 experience is that despite having a case for this M8, the lens on the back of the camera, I'm not sure if you'll really be able to pick that up, but is really badly scratched, and I would say I'm extremely careful with my devices, so it's a little disappointing that has quite easily picked up some wear from just being in my pocket, really. Has worn off. So having the sapphire glass on the back should be a much better experience in terms of its wear. So let's take a quick look around the device. So let's start up, and next, and we'll get through this bit as quickly as possible. So I'll just quickly connect to a Wi-Fi network. Which is authenticating. There we go, we are connected, and we'll sign in later, won't bother with any of this, we'll skip this for now as well, and we're next, finish. Well, let's just doing that, let's just lay the M8 alongside. You see there, and the M7. So there we go. So the M7 being that bit smaller. The M8 is very marginally smaller than the M9, and then obviously the M9 itself next to it. Very, very similar, really, those two. So HTC have had a little criticism over the sameness of the M7, sorry, the M8 and the M9, but there's a lot more under the hood rather than just the sort of visual appearance would suggest. So now we started up, we can see that we have the pretty straightforward and very similar looking interface that we have. We've got blink feed, which we saw introduced earlier on earlier devices. We then have obviously the home screen with Google search and voice search, and we can tap and personalize any of these bits that we have on the home screen, and we have multiple panels that we can access to add additional icons and folders and so on. In terms of the launcher, we have things like we've got Zoe there already pre-installed. There's a kid mode, HTC help, and themes. Well, themes is something that I think realistically is something that HTC have reintroduced really with the M9. It was on previous models of HTC products, such as the Legend, I think was possibly the first, and the Desire were the first to actually feature a theme, thematic type of settings. So you can actually change the display themes and settings on the device, so you can have them set up so that where you are, that's wanting me to skip, right, I'll do that later, but basically so that you can have a work theme, a home theme, a holiday and vacation theme, so that you have different applications exposed on the desk, on the home screen, depending upon where you are and what you're doing. So you might say that you want your email and instant messaging only when you're in the work mode, and when you're at home you might want to turn that off and have more things, more like music and so on, that are more socially orientated. So that can all be done through there. We'll come back to that in a more detailed video shortly. Some of the other stuff that we have in here, we've obviously got the Play Store, we've got settings, tools and other bits and pieces in terms of what we have. I'm just going to hop into the Play Store and we'll go and grab a copy of Quadrant so that we can do a quick benchmark. Okay, so we've hopped into the Google Play Store and we've located Quadrant, so I'm just going to go ahead and open that. Okay, and we will run a full benchmark, which shouldn't take too long to run. Let's just do a little zoom in so you can see it a little bit better. So it's running at a decent frame rate for the tests. .60 frames a second, not bad. And the last test, again, under 55-60 frames a second, doing quite well. And there we go, so let's see our benchmark results. There we go, this device, 33,475, which is not too bad at all. It's actually rather good, one of the better performing devices that we've seen. Obviously benchmarks don't really necessarily reflect the real world. It is just by means of giving us an idea of what the device theoretically could be capable of. The real world and real world applications will perform a lot more differently.